Hi, I'm Dan Upschulte with Utility Keystone, and this is another video in our series, How to Buy the Best Flatbed. Today we're here to talk about load securement. Now this is going to be an overview of how we can spec the trailer, not necessarily how to secure loads, but from a spec standpoint, the different options. There's a lot of great information out there on how to properly secure a load, so I would reference that as far as actually tying your load down. So we're talking about, from a spec standpoint, what we can do. So let's get into that right now. Here we're talking about winches and straps. So this is a very common way to secure a load on a flatbed. There's different options. These are your standard double L. These are actually galvanized winches right here. There is some options to have them on the driver's side or the curb side of the trailer, and a lot of that depends on what your philosophy is. It's easier for the driver to come out here, throw the straps over on this side. However, from a safety standpoint, it is nice to have them on the curb side, so if you have to pull off the side of the road and adjust your load securement, your driver is away from the roadside and safer. So there are options to have them on both sides, and depending on your load, if it's a taller load, you may want to have load securement points on both sides just to help it from shifting. Utility actually has a proprietary side rail where the winch track is built into it, so you can adjust and move those winches from either side of the trailer. Additionally, when you're looking at a working load limit, this winch itself is rated at 5,500 pounds. The strap is at 5,400 pounds. So your weakest point there. So this would have a 5,400 pound load securement working load limit rating. Another thing to keep in mind, just as a general overview, whatever your payload is, you need to have at least half of that as far as securement. So if you're hauling 40,000 pounds, you would need 20,000 pounds of load securement in order for that to be safe and legal. Having your load properly secured is crucial to, obviously, safety of your driver and other drivers on the road, and then also just a good business practice so you're not damaging material, and so you really want to understand kind of where you anchor that and how you anchor it. So winches come in galvanized, standard steel. There's proprietary stuff. There's low profile winches if you have a toolbox or a drop deck. So there's a lot of options there, and it's pretty common on most flatbeds. We're going to talk about a couple other options here. You have your spools and pockets. Depending on the manufacturer, you may or may not be able to use a pocket to secure a load. I know Utility does not recommend it. With the spools, there's working load limit is going to vary depending on the manufacturer. So you really want to check with them and understand what that pipe spool is rated at. If you put a chain around one spool and pull directly up, it'll have a certain rating. If you go around two, the rating may change. Also, depending on how that chain is coming off there and angled will also determine what that rating is. So definitely consult with your manufacturer. There's a whole thing on chain ratings and whatnot. That's something that you could reference the DOT website. A lot of good info out there on that. So another option here is our JHook. So this trailer is outfitted with a JHook track on either side here. This is a JHook. This one is rated at 7,900 pounds. So with the JHook track, it slides in here. You can put a flat hook strap against it or also a chain. On this trailer, it's outfitted with these bolts here to prevent this from shifting. Nice thing about the JHooks, you have a lot of options as far as where you can place them. They're removable. We could spec out storage. There's standard bar storage that comes out that you can put them on, or there's also more of a toolbox type configuration for it. So a lot of options with the JHooks and pipe spools as well. All right, next up we have our pop-up chain adapters. So this is an example of that right here. It's going to be recessed into the floor of your trailer. This particular model has a 6,500 pound working load limit, and this is set up for every other cross member. One thing about these, they do need to be adjacent to a cross member in order for them to function properly. So we can spec those out how you'd like, where you'd like, as long as they are adjacent to a cross member. Another load securement option, which is one of the strongest working loads out of everything, is going to be your D-ring, which is recessed in the floor. We don't have an example of that on the ground right now, but it is a D-ring that pops up. Typically they're around 15,000 pounds, so that's a really heavy working load limit. So if you're hauling something that requires a lot of securement, that could be a great option. Typically, well, you're limited to using a chain with that sort of tie down as well. So another option you see quite a bit from time to time on step decks are container locks for chassis or sandboxes. That's something we have to spec ahead of time, not something you're going to have to or will be able to retrofit. And you can set those up basically to haul a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container. So those are some options to consider. Depending on what you're doing, we'd love to chat with you about how we can properly spec the right trailer to give you many options and to safely secure your loads. That's all we have today for our video on load securement in our series on how to buy the best flatbed. Please like, subscribe, and share our various channels if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'm Dan Upschulte. We'll see you next time.